Rhinox is like, Cheetor, what have you done?
What have you done, son? Killing Uncle Optimus. You gave your uncle a beer. He's been sober for 2 days. So yeah, Optimus is kind of
Damn it, I don't want to have to go across the border again and go pick him up at a brothel down in Tijuana, just like the last time.
Too much energy.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Too Much Energon, the weekly podcast where we review every episode of Beast Wars ever in production order, starting from the beginning. I'm one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And this week, we are reviewing the 11th episode in production order, which was the 10th episode in U.S. broadcast order, Guerrilla Warfare, which originally aired on October 14th, 1996. Cal, why don't you get us started with this episode?
Guerrilla Warfare. Gorilla as in the animal.
Oh,
not
yes.
the term used in Guerrilla Warfare.
Gorilla as in G-O-R, not G-U-E-R.
G-E-U-R-A-L-7?
I was like, wait, did I spell that properly?
Close enough.
I don't know if I did.
I'm
always really terrible at at spelling out words aloud. Like my spelling's pretty great if I'm typing or if I'm writing something down, but like saying it out loud, I'm like
it's different.
The is THETEH ZPM. What?
It's a weird word. It's like G-U-E. I think it's one of those words where there's two. Yeah, is there one R or two R? G-U-E-R-R-I-L-L-A. I mean, I have Google, but I refuse. I don't care enough.
There's no way to find out. We will never know.
There's no way. It's 1996. It's just hearsay. Or asking your mom. Or stealing your grandma's dictionary.
The Scrabble edition.
The Scrabble edition. That's how you know it's legit.
All right. So Guerrilla Warfare.
Yes, there's a gorilla and a dino. I was gonna say a dinosaur. A gorilla and a velociraptor.
Yes, velociraptor.
Hanging out. And what are they doing? Looking for plants?
Yeah, they're hanging out in this like really tranquil, beautiful, like
double waterfall.
Yeah, it's really nice. It's a nice, bright, beautiful day. There's that like peaceful, like little, like maximal flute music playing. And so Optimus and Dinobot are like checking out plants, and Dinobot's all impatient about it, saying like
it's useless.
Yeah, it's useless. It's a big waste of our time. And Optimus is just like, oh, look at this plant here.
Yeah, because he's like, we're like, explorers, remember?
Yeah. And he's all like, yeah, I signed on for this mission as an explorer. Just because we bumped into Megatron in the Predacons is no reason to stop learning new things, which just feels like a big old message to kids right there.
Right? I have expected the camera to like cut to a zoom in on his face and for him to give a thumbs up. Oh yeah, and he's like this plant here, and they're in a rocky, like kind of mountainous area, and there's just this one big ass boulder. They kick a rock out of the way or something to look at it very violently. And they're like, yeah, check out this plant. And Dinobot's like,
yeah, Dinobot's all like, he disagrees with Optimus, like wanting to investigate this plant, but then he's all like, oh, very well, I'll blast it out. So he goes to transform, and Optimus stops him and is like,
oh, you can stop. Yes. Sorry to interrupt, but you said he stops him. He like closes his hand around his mouth, and it seems as if he stops the verbal command.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, hold up. Can you stop people from transforming if you close their mouth?
So what this implies is the way to win the Beast Wars is just to put some duct tape around Megatron's mouth.
Unless you're Rat Trap, in which case you never transform with a verbal component anyway.
I know I've made mention of that in previous podcasts, but I've actually heard him say it a lot as we've been rewatching this show. So I don't know what I was on. I don't know where I was getting that from, but it was always a take that I had when I was a kid. It's like, oh, Rat Trap rarely ever says maximize.
Well, there's like, 1 or 2 times he doesn't, and then it sticks in your head, right?
Yeah, I guess. 11-year-old Christopher. What does he know?
And they also sometimes one person will say like maximals, maximize, and then they all will.
Yeah.
So it's kind of, we want rules, damn it, we're adults now. Anyway, yeah, he's like, hey, now we need to be gentle or something, and he just uses his like mighty gorilla strength to knock the rock out of the way.
Yeah.
And there's a weird ass plant there.
Yeah, and Optimus is all like, knowledge of the terrain is an advantage in battle, and that you're a soldier and you should know this. And Dinobot's just all like, nah, and turns and walks away. And then this plant,
he makes a comment about salad.
Yeah, that's a line that I will actually quote because it is one of my favorite lines in this entire series.
Oh, okay, go.
It always has been. So yeah, Dinobot like snarls at the plant and then turns around and walks away, and the plant shoots this like, I don't know, like spiky acorn thing.
Yeah, it's almost like a chestnut. You know how they're spiky?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And so it sticks. It throws it at Dinobot, sticks to the back of his Velosa
back. His Velosa back.
And Dinobot starts losing his shit, just being all like screaming, like and growling, like get it off.
Yeah, he's losing his shit.
Yeah, and Optimus is just like, oh, hold on. And so he pulls it off of Dinobot's neck and drops it on the ground. Thing splits open, and a plant pops out of it. And
yeah, gorillas
just immediately.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's how the plant life cycle happens, right? And Optimus, and so, I was gonna say Gorilla Man, because we were saying the word gorilla so often earlier. Yeah. Optimus is like, see, that's how it spreads its seed, and I like almost spit out my drink.
And then he's like, see, we've learned something. Which, like, and he's talking to Dinobot straight up like he's a child right there.
Yeah.
It's like he's definitely talking to the 11-year-olds watching this. And then Dinobot is like, yes, from now on I shoot my dinner salad before I eat it.
I was like, hold up, you eat salad?
Well, yeah, it didn't in a previous episode. Wasn't a word that he used to trash Rat Trap. Was he called him like
an omnivore?
Yeah, he called him like a stinking omnivorous pestilence.
Yeah, that's it.
As if the fact that he was an omnivore was like a bad thing.
Yeah, but now he's admitting to eating salads.
Yeah. That aside, the whole like from now on I shoot my dinner salad before I eat it it's a
great line.
It's legit one of my favorite lines in all of this show.
And oh yeah, like you said, the plant after they get it off it, the acorn like splits in half, and like an almost fully grown like copy of the first plant like emerges. And I'm like, wow, that is an effective reproduction cycle.
And then we hear Scorponok be like, how about an arachnid? Finally settling that once and for all.
I knew he was an arachnid. Apparently, like a 10-year-old me like knew too. I was just, adult me is always challenging like what I know, to the point where I play my own devil's advocate. Why does he jump out and say, how about, because they're like, we need to find another specimen.
Yeah.
And he's like, how about an arachnid?
Yeah, and so
he shoots missiles at them?
Yeah. So
of course they're beside a cliff.
Yeah, so they they transform. Yeah, once again. So yeah, they transform. Scorponok like launches a missile that hits a rock that's above Dinobot.
Oh yeah,
Dinobot keeps getting like, this is like what, the second or third time now we've seen Dinobot get like tripped up by this.
He just happens to be squished between the only big rock in the area and the rock that falls down from the mountain. But there was no cover. So when I rewatched the episode, I was like, oh, well, he was just hiding behind cover.
Hiding behind a rock, like a character in a Kevin Smith movie.
Yeah. And Scorponok does something like bizarre, and what does he call it something?
So
Oh,
Scorponok,
there's some eye lasers, yeah, and some missiles.
yeah, some eye lasers, and Scorponok is like basically like Optimus. I've prepared a special cyber bee for you. So here are
Yeah.
finally the cyber bees that I've been talking about since like
I was like,
the
what the
first
hell are you
episode.
talking about? Yeah. And now I totally remember. He shoots this thing out of one of his claws, and it's a scary ass like fucking bee, and it like a fly almost, and it latches right onto Optimus's chest. And I'm
Yeah,
like, hold up, did Scorponok by himself just beat these two?
yeah, it's a large like
Gross.
RC car sized mechanical bee.
And it
Basically.
like its eyes and its back glow red.
Fun fact, the Scorponok toy actually had one of those in one of his pinchers.
Oh, it had a little cyber bee.
Yeah, I think it was the left one, and the right one had like a dual
missiles.
missile launch. Yeah, it had the missiles, yeah. The cross-country
Sweet.
missiles.
Well, one of them's normal missiles, and the other one is other. And the other one is other. Remember, some are like Nikita missiles.
Right. The
Bizarrely
other
enough.
is it is whatever Gotham needs it to be.
Oh god, poor Scorponok.
So yeah, he launches this cyber bee. It's at Optimus. It hits Optimus and latches onto his chest.
And he reels in pain.
Yeah, and then we're back at the Maximal base. I can't remember what happened to Scorp. Did like someone fuck him up? Did Dinobot like eye laser him?
Optimus was like
out of
hit.
scene?
Optimus is hit, and he gets angry, and he just shoots with like his little double barrel arm cannon, and actually hits him this time. And he flies back and lands on a log, and he's like, "Whew!" instead of like the water. But then like a Three Stooges like bit after he's like, "Whew!" it like zooms out, and the log is like going over the waterfall.
If only he had started doing the log driver's waltz.
Yeah, he'd be on top of that shit.
Yeah. But no, he's Scorponok.
No,
so.
He's not Tarantula Man. He's not Canadian. Yeah, so he screams.
Also, I feel like Optimus should just be Gorilla Man at this point.
Gory-chan. I'm sorry. Yeah, we cut to the Axelon, and it just cuts and it assumes they make it back at base, which is nice. And in typical fashion, everyone's arguing with each other.
The Game of Thrones season 7 method of traversal.
Well, no, because then it would have showed them in the Arctic talking to what is up with me? I was like, Tiger Man. Tigatron.
I think you mean Tigertron.
Oh, according to Optimus.
Yes,
according to Gory.
And he is the leader, so.
Yeah. Well, he's like, I say he's Tiger. Tyga's not even a word. What is he, a rapper? Is there a rapper called Tyga? I don't know.
I think he would be like MC Tigatron.
Oh, that sounds better. Yeah.
Anyway, so we're at the Axelon, and
there is a rapper named Tyga.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
No.
I had to Google it. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, we're at the Axelon.
We're at the Axelon.
They're at the dinner table arguing.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
They're always arguing at this table. It's the console in their fridge.
Yeah. The computer table thingy,
which from here on out will be the dinner table.
I think, yeah. Props to you for coining a lot of these.
I have a very particular set of skills. Yeah, they're arguing at the dinner table.
And I will find you and will make fun of you.
I will find you and I will make fun of your Reese's Puff cereal.
If anyone wants some context for that, listen to this week's outtake.
The subtitles say there's an ominous theme. So the kids are all arguing at the dinner table, and it's typical like Maximal fashion. Dinobot's being pessimistic. Cheetor's like calling him out. Rat Trap's like barely manages to like stop everyone fighting, and then there's like a holy glow coming out of their Healy tank. What's it called? You say what it is every time, but I always call it a Healy tank.
The CR chamber.
CR chamber, and the ones that the Predacons have
the Canadian Rail chamber.
Oh, I can remember that better now, actually. And the ones the Predacons have, those vats. Did they ever
I
name
think
them?
what it actually means is circuitry restoration.
That makes more sense.
But yeah, the Canadian Rail chamber.
And it's like glowing white. Like there's some sort of holy business going on there. Except Rhinobot says, Rhinox says he can't transform with that thing.
Okay,
which is an interesting turn of events. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, so we should probably this is something we should probably go over because it's important exposition. So Rhinox so Optimus is in the CR chamber and Rhinox is sitting at his usual spot at the not at the dinner table, but at one of the main like computer consoles facing away from it.
Yeah, one of the bridge terminals.
Yeah. So what he says basically is that this Cyber Bee is a like viral probe or something like that. And so basically it's latched itself onto Optimus Primal and has injected a virus into his system.
Yeah, that changes his personality.
We're not quite there yet.
We're not?
No, Cheetor is like, wait, okay, well let's get it off. And I almost said Optimus. Rhinox is
his
like,
name is Rhinobot. Yeah, he says we can't.
Yeah, he's like, we can't do it because the Cyber Bee has like rerouted all of his life support systems. We yank it, and Optimus dies in less than a minute. Doesn't say cycle, says minute.
He says minute. So they do have minutes. Good catch.
And then Cheetor is like Giga Bummer or something like that.
Cheetor phrases.
Yeah, Cheetor bullshit, you know.
He does mention that he can't transform either.
Yeah, because the Cyber Bee is locked into his robot form. It's preventing him from transforming.
Yeah, that's some shit.
And Cheetor says something along the lines of like, oh, well, that's no good because Optimus took mega energon damage on the way back here.
Yeah, Dinobot says they barely managed to get back to base.
Yeah. And so Rhinox is like, it gets worse. Like, once you rip the bee off of his chest, it explodes in less than a minute.
Yeah, he's like, it's a ticking time bomb, too. Taking out everybody nearby.
Yeah, what does he say? He said something that I felt like the way he phrased it, I thought was kind of funny.
It's scary.
Within sprinting distance.
Oh, does he say that?
Yeah. I just looked at the subtitle.
Okay, so this is the most dangerous weapon that either side has ever seen since the start of Beast Wars. If it's as dangerous as he makes it out to be. What does he say? It'll take out or it'll wipe out everyone within sprinting distance?
Wipe out everyone within sprinting distance.
A part of me is like, hold up. If the explosive in the Cyber Bee is so strong, why doesn't Scorponok just shoot those explosives instead of his little puffy missiles? Like literally, if the explosive inside this bee takes out everyone within sprinting distance, he needs to be shooting these bees and making them explode.
Instead of, shooting missiles that send people sailing to like halfway across the continent.
Because if he had shot Dinobot and Optimus with the explosives apparently inside of the Cyber Bee, then they'd just both be dead. According to like Rhinox's.
Can you imagine if in Beast Wars Part 1 when Megatron was all like, "Isn't that right, Scorponok?" I don't know why I always go
Connery.
It's just with that line. I don't know why I always go like full Connery with it.
Scorponok. You have to take the dragon heart.
Scorponok, yes.
The dog's name was Indiana.
You can't die, you fool. You're a transformer.
That was pretty good.
Oh. From
You're a
Highlander, for anyone who didn't get that. Oh fuck, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. So back in Beast Wars Part 1. Imagine if like Scorponok had just used this kind of artillery when Megatron went full Connery. Show would be over because he would have just blown all of them up.
That's my also I guess himself and all of them, yeah. So maybe he's hyping it up more than it's actually a danger. But the problem isn't necessarily the explosion. They've dealt with lots of explosions on the show. The problem is that like Optimus will die in less than a minute. Like it'll just wreck his life support systems.
Yeah. And so Dinobot pipes in and is like, I know Scorponok. This is clearly intended to turn Optimus into a coward. Which I'm like, okay. Is this a thing that Scorponok has done before?
Yeah, he's like, I know Scorponok. And I'm like, hold up. There's two questions I have, Dinobot. One, you apparently knew that Scorponok is like a cyber biologist or like a programmer or like a scientist? Like what? Since when has Scorponok been a scientist? And two, or an arms maker, like a weapon like designer. Like what the heck?
Yeah, so what is his job exactly?
That's what experimental weapon design?
I really hope that Scorponok got a raise in pay with all of this added responsibility because for all of the
he had to do this by himself.
For all of the like like Forbes articles I've read about like navigating the workforce, they always tell you to be wary of having new responsibilities thrust upon you without a change in title or pay.
Optimus is already he's already maximized. And does he bust his way out of the CR chamber?
Yeah, so he starts like straight up like punching his way out, and it's like doing that whole like thing that was really common. I find was really common in like a lot of like 80s and 90s action movies where like something would be punching through like solid steel and you would see like an indent from it.
That's common in like all of visual media for like all of time. It has to be. I've seen it in anime. I've seen it even in like Wallace and Gromit claymation. I've seen it in cartoons. I've seen it on this show, Beast Wars. I've seen it on Reboot. That's a very iconic. This person's so powerful. I thought Optimus was shooting his way out. That's what the white flashes were. But he be punching his way out. Doesn't matter. He's angry, and he's like, "Who wants some?" I think he literally says that.
Yeah. So he knocks the door off of the CR chamber, and he has his like forearm cannon double barrel shotgun.
Yeah, double cannon.
So he has that drawn. He's all like, "Oh, okay. Who wants some?" Basically,
come get some. Hail to the king, baby.
Blow it out your ass.
Where is it?
Where is she? Rachel.
Yeah, so he's all Batmaning in here.
So yeah, Optimus
he does
is
start
like
flipping tables.
Optimus is like super pissed and starts like just like shooting cannons around and like getting mad and being all aggro. And Rhinox is like, "Oh, I thought that was supposed to turn him into a coward," to Dinobot. And Dinobot's like, "Well, Scorponok is notoriously incompetent."
He's smart enough to program and make this weird like transformer virus parasite thing that can kill people if it's taken off. But like, oh, when you like add too much of chemical A instead of B and you turn them into a fearless berserker instead of a coward, whoopsie daisy. Because those two things are so similar that it's easy to mix them up. Or maybe it's like something weird, like it reacted differently with Optimus and it had the adverse effect as intended. Who knows?
So pretend he's a bartender for a second, and it was supposed to be like, 3 parts one thing, 2 parts another thing, and 1 part another thing. And he just mixed up the labels on the 3 part to the 1 part.
That makes more sense. Yeah. He just mixed his chemicals. That's what happens in science.
And so instead of getting like 1 part of the one thing, he got 3 parts of that thing, and vice versa. So now he's just a like rage monster.
Or he got 6 parts of Jägermeister and he's just really pissed. Yeah, so
he got a Jaeger bomb that was like an entire glass of Jaeger and like a shot glass of Red Bull.
Oh, the opposite. Oh, yeah. It's like the opposite of a Jaeger bomb.
Yeah, it's an inverted Jaeger bomb.
A bull bomb.
I mean, I would do it.
You know what? We should do that. we should try that. It's probably not as good as. No, I can expect that to be pretty bad. But shots aside,
I do like Jaeger, so I would try it.
But
it definitely would not be.
Little.
It definitely would not be my first drink of the night, but
no, that's midway through the night.
Yeah, and then after you drink an entire glass of this this inverted concoction, it suddenly becomes the last drink of the night because you pass out.
Yeah, that's probably you go in planning for mid drink, but it ends up being last drink. Yeah, speaking of drink though, it cuts to like a dark laboratory with Scorponok in his robot form, like doing science shit. Do you remember that scene? He's at like a terminal and there's like liquids around, and a giant T-Rex walks up to him and he's like, Scorponok, how did it go? And he's like, I gave it to him good, boss. Yeah, real good.
Oh, I should mention that before we got to this scene, Rhinox was able to restrain Optimus because Optimus was being all aggro, had his back turned to Rhinox because he was being all aggro to Dinobot, and so Rhinox restrained him. And
said he was shooting like the walls and just going nuts.
Yeah, and then Cheetor was basically just like, "No, Big Bot." And Optimus was like, "Oh, I can't control it. Disarm my weapons. Lock me up."
Yeah, lock me up. Disarm his weapon. Yeah, I guess you can do that. Although they self-heal, so that makes me wonder how much of their weapons are like cybernetic implants, or if they could, like, quote unquote, heal their weaponry. Because Optimus healed his like boost jets in Beast Wars Part 2.
But it's been established though that it's their beast form that conducts internal repairs, and the cyber beast preventing him from transforming.
Ah, that is true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So sorry, we're in a laboratory.
Legitimate journalism.
Yeah. We're in a laboratory with Scorponok, like somehow pressing buttons on a computer. He does not have hands.
He is
giant. He is giant, like bigger than his thighs, like pincers.
He uses the tips of them, just like
kind of like how I type.
Yeah, that's how I type too.
Yeah, good point.
I can type it. I can actually type at like 50 to 60 words per minute like that.
I ET it. I have like 4 typing fingers and a thumb.
Oh, I don't. I type like an old man.
1 finger on one hand.
one finger on each hand.
Oh, one finger on each hand. Okay.
Yeah. It's actually evolved. Like I've gotten a little bit better, and like a lot of the times I'll use 2 fingers. I'll use like my first 2 fingers on each hand. But like yeah, like I've actually tested this, and I can actually type with just like 1 finger on each hand, like do the old man typing, but I can do it at like 50 to 60 words per minute.
Well, there you go. That's there you go. Good enough. So he's typing away, and Optimus Derp, Megatron T-Rex comes up behind him, and he's like, "Well, how did it go?" And Scorponok's like, "I did good, Dad." And he says he gave it to him good, and got Optimus with it.
He gave
And
it the old Predacon try.
Apparently, which is better than the old Maximal try. Oof. And he's like, "And the antivirus?" And Scorponok's like, "Right there, boss." And
Just one, like you said.
Just one, yeah, like you said. And I'm like, why is there even one?
Yeah. Okay, thank you. This is what I was wondering when I was watching it earlier. I was like, why even have one? Like,
why? Like to barter, to give them. I understand, like plot wise, it's so that the Maximals can use it on Optimus.
yeah.
But logically speaking, like I don't know why they would need it. He picks it up with his T-Rex arms and holds it like a scepter. And he's like, "This will, they will undoubtedly come to get the antivirus, and then we will put an end to and it will result in their final battle for the Beast Wars." And I'm like, "Oh, okay, I guess." But I mean, wouldn't it be also effective if it didn't exist? And that's a big assumption that there's an antivirus at all. So not only did
Yeah.
he have Scorponok make one, he assumes that the Maximals know that there's an antivirus. And the funny thing is, they do.
The Maximals do assume that there is an antivirus. There's a lot of leaps in logic going on here.
Yeah, it's like a poor attempt at this like
A lot of people
mind
making
games.
asses of you and me.
Yeah, a lot of people making an ass out of you and Ming. And Ming didn't hurt nobody.
So we cut back to the Axelon. Optimus is in a laser jail cell thing, and he's all he's all like flipping out, like trying to like shoulder check it side to side. And Cheetor shows up.
They've never shown this prison before. That not even in a part of the ship I recognize.
No.
Of course, Cheetor.
It's all like black, and honestly, it looks like more like something out of the Predacon ship.
Yeah, so it's in a dark room. There's like a visiting, like an observation deck, and like you said, like laser bars keeping him in. And I'm like,
bright red light emitting from them.
Yeah, I'm like, hold up. The Predacons had an actual physical metal cage. The Maximals have like by the way, he can barely stand in it. It's very tight. Right? They've got this like standing torture, like laser like prison. I'm like, that seems, at least the Maximals could fit in those cages. And it's shown a few Maximals in the cages. They can fit quite spaciously. But like this is, he can't even lie down.
Oh hell,
even
Megatron in his beast form was able to fit into one of those Predacon cages.
Yeah, but in this it shows Optimus, and it doesn't look like there's room to even lie down, right?
Yeah, I thought that the Maximals were supposed to be benevolent and humane.
Yeah, what the fuck is this? Yeah, but apparently they've got a standing like prison. And he's like, "Oh, it's so hard to control Cheetor." And he's like, "You can do it, big bot. You gotta believe."
And then
yeah.
And then a back and forth goes down that, to be honest, kind of reminded me of like someone talking to a junkie, like a loved one of theirs who's like a drug addict.
I got a different impression. It's such a trope that when somebody's affected by hallucination or a magic spell or a mind-altering thing in like an anime or a cartoon or a movie or whatever, like if you just believe, you can beat it. And like through sheer force of will and through other people's encouragement, like willpower alone can beat that kind of shit. And I'm glad that's not the case here.
See, I think what's going on is Optimus is manipulating Cheetor. Angry Optimus knows that Cheetor wants to believe in him. So Angry Optimus is using that to convince Cheetor to let him out.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that more.
So
yeah,
that's
you know that trope, right? Like,
yeah,
you can do it if you just got to believe in yourself. And I kind of was like, eh.
And
but yeah, he definitely manipulates him.
Yeah, and it's that thing that say drug addicts will do, for instance, just to get what they want out of people that they know.
I'm coming around to that idea more.
Yeah, you see where I'm going with this. I don't want to deep dive too far into that, but yeah, that's what this scene made me think of.
So we cut to the others at the dinner table: Rat Trap, Rhinobot, and Dinosaur Man, and they're arguing.
Oh, fucking Rhinobot.
That's the Predacon version of Rhinox. Rhinobot.
Oh, spoilers.
And they're arguing at the dinner table, and I specifically want to they're just same old shit, like arguing about what to do. And Dinobot says, like, give him full armament, give him a bunch of weapons, and just like let him go nuts and attack. Because he's got like a berserker virus instead of a coward. They won't expect it. The Predacons won't expect it. So I say we just let him go nuts.
I agree with Dinobot here.
Yes. Which is weird because
I agree with Dinobot here, but I also see the Maximal's point. So Rhinox and Rat Trap are basically like, no, this is a terrible idea because Optimus will get blown to scrap in the process. Yeah. And Dinobot's basically just like, and they're like, oh yeah, that's going to be bad. And Dinobot's basically just like, well, that depends on your viewpoint.
Yeah.
And then Optimus shows up with Cheetor in tow and is like, actually, I like that idea.
Optimus is kind of like twitching, and he's like, I can't fight it, but I can adapt to it.
Yeah, he's like tweaking.
So I'm gonna attack the base, but with your help, you can help me get the antivirus.
As he's tweaking.
And then Cheetor says a very reboot thing. And he says, yeah, basic piece of programming. And I'm like, what show is this?
Right?
Yeah.
And then Rat Trap is like, yeah, and what if he goes ape slag on us? Which made me laugh. Because legit, ape shit is one of my favorite phrases. Yeah. Like, it's one of my favorite terms to use is ape shit.
As someone who went to high school in the early 2000s, I can assure you that ape shit was quite the term.
So Rat Trap being all like ape slag made me laugh.
That's pretty good. And he gets so like jacked and excited, he starts like shooting the ceiling.
Yeah,
Which Optimus makes the alarm go off.
Yeah, he gets all mad, being all like, hey, they made me what I am. I say it's time to say thank you. So he flips out and starts like shooting the ceiling. They made
me what I am today. And I'm like, you've been sick for 2 hours.
He's adjusted very, very quickly to this whole like Wolverine berserker rage thing.
Oh yeah, it is kind of like Wolverine's problem. Like, does he call people bub? He must.
I think someone at some point calls someone bub in the show, I'm sure.
Seems like a rat trap thing. And he's not just shooting the sirens, the little flashing lights. He just starts fucking shooting everything. Like the compute, like doing a ton of damage to the bridge.
Oh yeah,
Like it's not good. Like
a
this'll
red.
set them back.
Yeah, yeah. I was thinking that earlier. It's like, I believe I've mentioned this before on the podcast, but like they have a limited amount of resources. Like all they have is their ship, basically.
Yeah, what
Like
if there's computer parts or screens?
yeah,
Or
it's like yeah, it's like if the like main if like a main computer terminal gets destroyed, like they probably don't have the resources to fix it.
yeah, right?
Yeah,
Well,
so
we'll just whip up another liquid crystal display monitor. Who
uh,
knows what's on their ship? Man, I just realized like Rat Trap has like 2 perfectly spherical orbs for his butt. You pointed it out before in a past
I did.
episode.
I did. I think I ended up cutting that bit, but yes, I pointed
Oh.
out Rat Trap's booty.
Yeah, so this is the part you were talking about where Rhinox or this is even a separate part, yeah.
This is a different
Because
part.
this is after he goes nuts where he's actually shooting. Rhinox like comes out from behind the dinner table and like charges him, tackles him, orders everyone to restrain him, and then Rhinox Rhinobot says, "Watch that laser." And I'm like,
Okay, what was he talking about there? What laser?
you too? Okay, I
Yeah,
was like, hold up.
I
Optimus has never had a laser.
I made a mental note earlier to bring that up because he's all like, Cheetor, grab his leg. And then Cheetor does, and he's all like, watch that laser. And it's like, what laser? What are you talking
And
about?
I half expected his eyes to glow green because Optimus's eyes are usually red when he's in his robot form and like shoot lasers. And I was like, holy shit!
Because he got eye
Is that what he's hiding in his back pocket, or does he get them when he's really angry? No, he has no lasers. I have no idea what. Like I said, there are different writers for these episodes. You can't pay attention to who has lasers and who doesn't.
Yeah.
Watch that laser.
Right? Just before Rhinox decided to do his whole like football tackle of Optimus, though, he's huddled behind the table, the dinner table with Rat Trap, and he's all like, we have to stop him before he hurts himself, as things
Right.
are exploding around them, and Rat Trap's just like, try us.
Yeah. He's shooting at them when they pop their head up.
Yeah. So yeah, after that, Rhinox and Cheetor are trying to pin him down, and then Optimus is all like,
He just kicks everyone off.
and he's just like, oh, slag the lot of you. I don't need
Slag
you.
the lot of you.
Yeah, I'll handle this on my own. And his
He's
whole
like, yeah.
he brings up his shoulder cannons, and his face
Yeah.
shield goes down.
Yeah, he does say, he's like, yeah, it's like Dinobot says, see? We gotta hit the press
Oh,
in
right.
the way they understand.
Right,
like,
because the camera like zooms in on Dinobot's face, and Dinobot just does this like half smile, like
yeah, I forgot I said that. Almost like
yeah.
he regrets letting Optimus hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
I just caught that. Like he kind of like awkwardly smiles. It's like the most awkward screen capping that to send to you. It's the most awkward smile I've ever seen Dinobot do, and he has some awkward smiles. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I might actually make it the show art for this episode. I was considering we haven't got there yet, but I was considering doing the T-Rex Megatron in his beast form, like just kicks Scorponok to the side. Because it's a funny shot. It's either going to be
few really good ones here.
It's either going to be that or Dinobot's face. I'm kind of leaning toward Dinobot.
But if your caution circuits are overriding your courage,
Right,
not courage circuits, not courage like chips, just courage. There's no chip for that or circuit for that. That's separate. Apparently.
Yeah, that's just software.
Yeah, and he he goes off with this face mask thing, like you had said to me in text, all Jason Voorhees, like walking around angry with like machete.
Yeah. Oh well, we'll get there. And so Cheetor is in his quarters and is all like arming up, and Dinobot is just like, this
Can
isn't the
we talk
way.
about the number of guns Cheetor has?
Yeah, I mean, for being like a university kid on his practicum, like guy has quite the arsenal.
Yeah, like half of his bedroom are just identical versions of his intestine gun.
Yeah.
And this is weird.
Also, he has
Dino,
nothing else in his bedroom.
yeah, no posters, no, just apparently guns on opposite side of his cot.
What would be really funny is if like he had a poster and it was just a poster of his like intestine gun.
Yeah, that would be good. And he fondly looks over at his like poster and he goes, ah, and then he turns his head and looks at his gun.
and then
Oh,
rubs his tummy.
rubs. Oh, right. Because when he's a cheetah, it's inside of him. It's inside of his stomach. So this is
Just like Reese Puff cereal.
just like Reese's Puff cereal. Scorponok's favorite.
Once again, listeners, for context, listen to this week's outtake.
Yeah, and there's this is okay. So this is weird to me. 5 minutes ago, straight up, Dinobot was angry, like yelling, hissing, doing his Dinobot thing, right? Saying
Yeah.
we should let loose Optimus on the enemy. They won't see him coming. They'll think he's a coward, and he'll just cause a bunch of damage.
Yeah.
Right. And now he's coming in, and Cheetor is like, "Oh yeah, we gotta go follow him and back him up." Now Dinobot is like, "Hold up, like
Yeah, just
this
just
isn't
like
strategy."
cocking like intestine gun after intestine gun,
Yeah.
grabbing grenades.
Oh yeah, he is. Yeah, he's just I'm surprised he doesn't have a bazooka. And Dinobot like marches in, and he's like, "There's no strategy here. It's just blind aggression." And I'm like, "Hold
Isn't
up,
that
Dinobot.
yeah? Isn't that Dinobot shtick?
That's your fucking shtick." And you were arguing to let loose Optimus like 3 minutes ago,
Yeah,
30 seconds ago, like just like straight up, like yeah.
like
So I'm
2
like,
minutes of screen time ago.
what's going on here? And Cheetor pulls a Dinobot, and he's like, maybe that's what we need, a little less brain and a lot more guts, or
And
something.
he says that as he's clutching a grenade in his hand.
Oh, that's what that is. Okay. I was
Yeah.
like, is there gun parts? No, it's clearly a grenade. And
Yeah.
for some reason, Dinobot decides not to be like a Viking for once, unlike the entire show. And he's like, no, we must think about what Optimus would do. The old Optimus. I'm like, the old Optimus? He's been sick for like 2 hours. Leave him alone. It's like, rest in peace, the old Optimus. I can barely remember what.
I can barely remember the sound of his laughter
And then it like cuts to a
on a
flashback of him
crisp
laughing the day before.
spring morning.
Yeah, and they come up with the plan of what is it? To negotiate?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, so Cheetor is like, oh, well, what would the old Optimus do, basically? And Dinobot is all like, negotiate.
WWOD. What would Optimus do?
Right?
Holds up his Dinobot for some reason now holds up his WWOD bracelet.
Not that you could see that, but when I just said negotiate, I actually held up my fist.
Do you have a what would Optimus do bracelet? Think we could sell those? No.
I have a Fitbit and a Sharpie.
Good enough.
I could make one.
So
it also tells you the time and tracks your steps.
Oh, that's better than a slight sidebar.
Okay.
There is Do you remember? I think late 2000s, there were thick rubber bands that people would just wear, and
I remember.
they didn't have like colors or anything. They would have like indentations of like what they would say, and sometimes some of them had a print on it, but it would wear off after a few months. And there were just these thick rubber bands that like were popular. I mean, I'm guilty of wearing one for like 2 years. It was just a black bar, like a black one.
I remember people giving them out at raves in the 2000s, like the mid to late 2000s.
Yeah, and I remember people wearing them, and like the pink ones were for breast cancer, and there were ones you could get for like band merch that would have like the band name on them and stuff, and it was just weird. These like rubber, like thick rubber bands that people would wear 24/7 because like they were just thick rubber, so you'd wear them in the shower. And I don't know, just something the what WWOD thing reminded me of that.
Mm.
But we don't have those now. Now we have Fitbits.
Yeah.
Which are only slightly more expensive and do basically the same thing, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Man, can you imagine bringing tech back to like Beast Wars era and like showing a kid like a Fitbit? And he's like, "Wow, that's like my calculator watch."
Could you imagine taking a PS4 back to like 1986 when like the
Wow.
NES was the hypest shit?
That would be like witchcraft. You'd be
No, it wouldn't.
kicking.
No, it wouldn't be anything because like the only thing you can hook a PS4 up to is
Oh,
by
wait.
like HDMI. So you wouldn't be able to do anything with it.
Yeah, like nobody would even be able to play anything on it.
You could plug it in and turn it on.
Yeah, and show off doesn't have a disc tray, so you can't show off the little disc tray going in and out.
Yeah, you can be like, this is the sound it makes when you press the power button, and people will be like, okay.
Cool story, bro.
The controller would probably blow people's minds though, because it's like, oh, it's wireless and it has this like light bar on it, and
the light bar changes color depending on what like game and scene you're playing.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, I'll turn it around and I'll be like being chased by the police in like GTA, and I'll be like, oh, it flashes red and blue.
Yeah.
I only noticed that because I put my controller down for a reason.
Yeah.
So I had the game for like years, and I only noticed like years into playing.
Yeah, I can't remember what game it was, but like some game that I was playing pretty extensively at some point, like the light bar would turn red when your health was low.
Oh, just weird little touches like that. Yeah. It was like a peach or like a beige color at like one time, and I'm like, I didn't even know you could make that color.
Yeah.
So clearly has it. Anyways, yes, I like the PS4 controller, even though there's a big giant touchpad in the middle that doesn't do anything for most games. At the beginning of a new game, I always test out the touchpad, and I'm like, oh, cool, I have to remember that, and then I don't.
Yeah, it's basically a giant select button.
Yeah, it's a good way to. Yeah, there's they replaced the select button with share, and there's a giant select button in the middle.
Yeah.
Games that utilize the swiping on it, though, those can be cool because it can detect if you're swiping up, down, left, or right. And
there are a few FMV games that do it pretty well. Like there's one called Emma that's actually really good.
Is that the one where like people have powers and she's like at this like estate?
Yeah, that sounds right. I only played through it once, like 2 years ago.
Yeah, it was on the
It was free on
PlayStation Plus.
Yeah.
We just played through it last month.
Yeah. I actually bought it when it first came out because I love FMV games.
That one was decent.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Or like Detroit. Did I say Detroit already?
No, you haven't mentioned it.
Okay. I was thinking it, so I wasn't sure if I'd actually brought it up. Detroit does a lot of stuff with the touchpad and like the motion control function of the PS4 controller.
Actually, yeah, it actually so does Detroit Become Human uses it a lot. Actually, that's fair. So does the motion control, not the center. Sometimes the center for the QuickTime events. Until what's it called? Until Dawn. Yeah, little rant about. I love Until Dawn.
Or their what was the game they did after that?
Man of Medan.
No, they did another one. I know you've played it because I've looked at your trophy list.
Oh,
Hidden Agenda.
oh, right. That was weird. We never played through it.
Oh, I played through it a few times. I like it.
We should give it another chance. We played like a competitive like multiplayer mode. It was weird.
Yeah, I played through it twice on my own, and me and Krista played through it once, and like every single time, I always ended up blowing up at the end. Spoilers.
Why would you tell me that when I told you I haven't beaten it?
Well, there are apparently like 30 different endings to the game.
We shall see. I really like Detroit Become Human. Like that is a special game to me. Anyways, that's our PS4 podcast.
But yeah, since we both own Hidden Agenda, when I have access to PlayStation games again, when I buy PlayStation, when I buy a PS5, then we should do that.
Yeah. Why not?
Anyway, beast mode.
Beast mode.
Where were we?
We are at the dark side, and there's a few Predacons hanging out, and there's a transmission coming in from the Maximals. Who's the communications guy? It's usually Pterosaur.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
Pterosaur.
he's like, oh, we're incoming garbled message from the Maximals, probably from Energon interference. And he stabilizes it, and they bring it up, and it's I think it's Cheetor. Yeah, it's Cheetor talking to them, being like, Predacon base, come in.
I loved how cocky Cheetor sounded in this message.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
he starts with insulting them. Go ahead.
For this, I'm actually going to read the subtitles because I think it's like what he says and the way he says it is really funny.
He opens with an insult. Yeah.
He's like, "Listen up, you miswired metalheads." Which, as a metalhead myself, I'm like, "Fuck you, Cheetor."
I never thought about that.
He's like, "You botched up your little attitude adjustment on Optimus. He's flaming toward you on the Red Eye Express, and he's loaded for mainframe combat."
Wow.
Which, again, another reboot thing.
Yeah. Wait. Yeah. What? Uh-oh. Warning. Incoming Optimus.
Yeah, so he's like, "So what do you say you fork over that antivirus before you get vaped?"
Do you even vape?
And Megatron, like, bravo to Megatron here, because he saves face. He's like, any renegade Maximal who attempts to storm our base will not survive. God, I went Connery again. What is wrong with me?
Oh, I thought you were doing it on purpose now. Will not survive.
Okay.
Here we are.
And then he's all like, "Megatron out. Cheers."
Does he say Megatron out?
He does, yeah. He doesn't say yes though. And then he cuts comms and he turns to Scorponok, who is just to his left, and he's like, "Incompetent bug." And then does this hilarious like side kick and boots Scorponok out of frame.
Oh, yeah, what a dick. Yeah, I missed that the first time through. He just boots him out of frame.
Yeah, it's a shot that amuses me greatly.
This bothers
me. Scorponok is all like, "Sorry, Daddy."
Please don't hit me anymore. I'll make you happy one day.
Wow, that got dark real quick.
Ever since Mommy left, you've been a meanie. Anyways, Cheetor changes back into a cheetah, and there's a really cool shot. I will send you the screenshot of with like the Predacon base in the background and all the Maximals kind of there, and it shows. Are there two moons? Have I just noticed that now? Are there two moons around
Yeah,
this
there are
planet?
2 moons.
No, you
No,
mentioned this to me before. You mentioned this
there've
like
always been 2
Beast
moons.
Wars episode 1 or something. Yeah.
Yeah, there's always been 2 moons.
I'm like, is this Nern? Is this the land of Tamriel?
The 2 moons thing may become important.
Ooh. And part of me is like, hold up. So now they know he's coming. And Dinobot was the one that insisted you guys do this. But before, when Dinobot kind of awkwardly was like, and like shrugged, that was because he said we should just give him the element of surprise and let him loose on the Predacons. So I was
Yeah.
like, what are you doing?
Yeah,
And then he's like, darn, it didn't
planning
work.
Dinobot's planning is very inconsistent.
Yeah, they should leave that to Rat Trap when Optimus is gone.
Yes, Dinobot is a fierce and powerful warrior, but he is not the master strategist nor leaderly type that he seems to fancy himself.
No, and part of him is almost. I feel like part of him is coming to terms with that. He's starting to realize, hey, like I'm good at fighting. Maybe I'm not so good at being a leader. I'm reading between the lines of multiple episodes, of course. He never says anything like that, but
Yeah.
you feel that too, right? Yeah, he's a fighter, not a thinker.
And he's really growing as a character too, which will come up later in this episode, and I'll talk about it when we get there.
Yeah, before the scene ends, he says something like, "Oh, clearly, none of us can think quite like Optimus, and
So
for the rest of us, we must now think on our own."
Yeah.
And I'm like, yes. Yeah. So cue like a can of whoop ass time. The last 5 minutes of this the next 5 minutes of this are pretty great.
Yeah, so
Doesn't he
Optimus
just fly right into their ship?
Yeah,
Puts his face shield on?
Optimus is like charging like midair, like downward, like kamikaze dive right toward the Predacon base.
This is the fastest I've ever seen anyone move.
He closes his face mask shield thing and then launches a couple shoulder missiles at the dark side, blows a hole in it, crashes right into it.
Yeah. Crashes right into it. And for some reason,
Black
Arachnia is at Scorponok's lab terminal.
Yeah.
Did you notice that? They reused the shot of the lab?
I didn't actually. But she's basically like, oh shit, we have an outer hall breach. And Megatron goes over to the computer and tells specifically Tarantulas, to destroy the intruder.
Like over some like intercom system, I guess.
Yeah.
Or he just yells into a vent because he knows Tarantulas is hiding out in the vents like a creepy bastard.
No, he yelled it into the computer.
Yeah.
So
which I thought was Scorponok's lab, but whatever.
So
and Tarantulas is a ninja.
So we're in this like dark hallway, and this dark, like dimly lit hallway with these like kind of flashing like red and blue lights, sort of illuminating things. And Optimus is stomping through.
It's pretty vaporwave, yeah.
Is just stomping around, and Tarantulas like drops down and fires
shoots him with his what is
his like spinneret arrow thing that he has.
Yeah, like it's almost like a anchor,
Yeah.
like a spiky like grappling hook anchor.
Yeah.
That
So
it's basically his like gun that he has throughout the whole thing. It's shown that he has like machine gun like spider legs, as well as this like utility gun.
yeah.
Has he
So
ever had a photon gun or no? Like a blaster?
no, I don't
He's
think
pretty
so.
much just had those two weapons, right?
Yeah. So he shoots this arrow at Optimus, and Optimus straight up just catches it.
Yeah.
And
Like
then
catches it.
and then he does the Robert Patrick T-1000 finger wave.
I never even thought about that. He's the T-1000 right now.
And so and then he just starts like charging toward Tarantulas, and Tarantulas
Like the Liquid Terminator.
yeah,
Just shrugging off shots.
yeah, and Tarantulas just like unleashes these like fully auto like spider leg
The spider leg
gun
machine
things
gun. Yeah.
that you had just mentioned. And we see like Optimus continuing to charge forward as he's getting like just mangled by these bullets.
Yeah, it's leaving scrapes all over. Nothing bad, like we've seen before, but it's denting him and scratching his
Yeah,
face and stuff.
yeah, it's causing some real damage. And Optimus gets over, and like there's even like a close-up shot of Optimus's face, and like you can see like parts of his head are bleeding from this.
What? He's bleeding in that?
Yeah.
Whoa, wait, no, it's the reflection of the light, right?
No, he's bleeding. Like look on the white grill thing in the middle of his forehead.
Oh. Yeah, I thought it was like scuff marks. But let's go with blood. He
Mech fluid.
manhandles there you go.
Mech fluid.
Family safe mech fluid, which we know exists.
So
And he manhandles Tarantulas. Apparently he can just pick up Tarantulas with one hand. He slams him against the wall, and he's still holding that like arrow spike thing that Tarantulas shot. And this is like scary.
yeah, he
As he's
flips it
holding him up,
around because like the side of the not the firing side of this like crossbow arrow thing, but the other side is straight up just a spike.
and he holds it up,
He
and it
holds
cuts
it
to
up and
Optimus's
shows it
face.
to Tarantulas, and then lowers
Yeah,
it out of frame, and Tarantulas just starts like screaming in agony. And we see that Optimus just walks away, and Tarantulas is pinned to the wall
he
by
impales
this
him onto the
thing.
wall.
He straight up fucking impaled him. And I'm watching this as an adult, and I'm like, holy shit.
Right?
I mean, it doesn't actually show him doing it, but Jesus Christ.
Well, when he holds it up and they make eye contact and he's showing it to Tarantulas, Tarantulas trembles in fear.
Yeah.
Like I'm not usually somebody who's like, hey, like, is this okay for a kids show? Usually I'm like, kids can watch whatever.
Oh,
But like
totally.
you
Yeah.
said, adult me is like, what was like that's like a serial killer like holding up their knife to their victim's eyes before they stab them. That's
Yeah.
literally what it what it is, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong? Who wrote this?
Well, and like also too, like I feel like no kids show would like this wouldn't fly nowadays.
No. Maybe like if they had launched a spike and it pinned somebody's arm to a tree, like by the clothes, that's different, right? But like
But even then,
holding
like they would add some sort of like comical sound effect to it to make it like
and it would hit their clothes, like I
yeah.
said, right? But like the way he holds, I expected him to like lick it or or something. The way he holds it up and shows him, and then it shows him like squirming and like shivering in fear, and then he pins him to the wall. That's it's a little morbid for the 10 plus, or sorry, 8, 7, 6. What's the age range? Where's the bottom age range here? 5.
This show was rated TVY7.
Okay, so 7-ish plus.
Although I know people who were like 5 years old when the show was on,
That
and
that
they were,
seems a little, yeah, it's dark.
yeah.
Him showing him the blade that he's going to impale him. And we know they can fall apart and be put back together, and they're robots, right? But still.
In this
That's
episode, though, like death is an actual stake, unlike in a lot of other episodes of the show
exactly.
so
They
far.
straight up said that if the cyber bee is removed, he will die in less than a minute.
Yeah, not a cycle, mind you, but a minute.
No, which is multiple cycles. We won't tell you how many, but there's multiple cycles in a minute. Possibly 60. Who knows? So, somewhere between 1 and 60.
So Megatron, we're back at Megatron and Black Arachnia in Scorponok's lab, or the reused environmental model of
Yeah, I
Scorponok's
don't know
lab.
why they're in Scorponok's lab.
And Megatron says through the computer to Waspinator, he's all like, "Waspinator, get him, yes." See, now I'm doing it intentionally.
What? I couldn't tell.
And then Waspinator is like, "Waspinator, get him."
Right.
And
I mean,
Waspinator
technically he's gotten him before, so
and Waspinator starts walking through this similarly dimly lit hallway. And then you
as the
hear a
Predacon
scream.
ship is.
Yeah, and then you hear this scream in the distance.
Presumably tarantulas?
Yeah. And Waspinator just looks all afraid
Yeah, his
immediately.
jaws chattering. It's like a scene out of like one of the Alien movies. Like somebody like
And
desperately afraid for their life.
and you hear like footsteps walking, getting
Jesus,
closer.
this is scary.
Yeah, no, like I was saying to you earlier, like this whole bit like reminds me like he's basically Jason Voorhees or something.
Yes.
Like this whole bit is like straight up like slasher movie shit.
Yeah.
Um
And then there's dramatic, like scary music playing, and the wall behind Waspinator breaks. Keep in mind, like the walls are presumably steel, and Optimus comes grabs
smashes
Waspinator from
through.
behind, smashing through the steel, wraps a hand over his face, like his mouth, and like
Yeah.
pulls him into the darkness.
That's what I mean. It's like this is like straight up like Friday the 13th kind of shit.
I think he throws him through another wall and just he cowers in fear and he's like, "No, Optimus!" And he covers his face, and Optimus just mercilessly shoots him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
He is covered in blood. Wow.
yeah.
Never mind, that's not the lighting. It's not even my blood. And then he
This is
turns his head, like speaking of like a Terminator, he's like in hunt mode and he's like very mechanically, like you said, Jason Voorhees, like slowly stalking through the many dark, dimly lit hallways of the dark side. And what are the Maximals doing? Are they charging it? Yeah.
yeah, they're charging toward the dark side, guns blazing.
And the Predacons meet them with their own sortie. Except by Predacons, I mean 2 of them. How much must Black Arachnia hate being teamed up with Pterosaur? Because it's been a lot so far.
And it hasn't really worked out in her favor.
It's just no. It's just, and also to her credit, like, would you want to be teamed up with Pterosaur? I'd take Scorponok. Oh, I would not take Tarantulas though. No, never mind.
No.
Tarantulas is on the bottom of my list. Because at least Pterosaur has got your back. I don't feel like Tarantulas would. He's fucked off so many times.
Oh yeah. And Waspinator, I think Waspinator would get annoying in how stupid he is very quickly.
Yeah, he runs when he doesn't think he can win. He fights when he thinks he's got the drop on you. He sneaks up on you and then gets shot a lot. No stealth skill that Waspinator.
No.
But Black Arachnia doesn't have your back. So, but basically, the only one
she
I
is
would
a
trust
Black
is
Widow spider. Like, that's her alternate form. So,
fair.
like,
So basically, the only one you could trust in this is Scorponok.
yeah, I mean,
Wow, they suck.
he is fiendishly loyal.
Wow, now that I'm like analyzing all of them, the Predacons suck.
Yeah, kind of.
Well,
I mean, they
I
are the
like
bad
them.
guys.
I like them, but thinking about who I would like to be teamed up with, I'm like, no. Oh, definitely not. Well, so they run out with their sortie and hide behind a rock that is conveniently placed.
yeah,
Eye
and
lasers, guns.
we're back in the dark side. Optimus is continuing to stalk the hallways, and now he's gone full loopy because he's hallucinating Cheetor's voice, being all basically
right.
like, "No, Big Bot, don't do it. Control yourself," or something like that.
Yeah, and he's like, huh? Cheetor, is that you?
Yeah, Cheetor, Cheetor.
Cheetor! Dun, 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 dun. Speaking,
Dun, dun, dun. Maximize.
I wonder. Maximize? Maximize! I wonder if there's anyone listening that has no idea what Metal Gear Solid is, because we reference Metal Gear Solid at least once every single episode. I swear, it's just a little bit here or there.
Yeah. Yeah. For the
Even
listeners, I have a Metal Gear tattoo. So I am I'm a big Metal Gear fan. That's why it
Speaking of,
comes up.
it comes up because I'm a medium-sized Metal Gear fan. I still know more than the average gamer, probably, but not more than a Metal Gear like fan, like an actual fan that's played all the games. But speaking of Cheetor, I swear this is the third time. Sorry, go ahead.
You swear the what?
I was gonna say this is the third time Cheetor's just run into the Predacon base as a cheetah, just straight through the front door, the hangar doors. I swear he does this often.
Well, he is one cool cat.
Yeah, so he disappears into the darkness.
Yeah, so Optimus, Optimus emerges from the
darkness.
From the dark. He emerges from the hallway that he was stalking, and
covered in blood and
covered in blood,
scratches, and
seemingly not doing well. And
yeah,
he's
almost like this is it's not just that it makes him angry, it's debilitating.
yeah, it seems like it's draining his life, which like wasn't a thing that had really like did I miss something? But like I don't feel like that
I don't
was
think they
something.
covered that.
Yeah, I don't think they covered that, but it seems like this bee is slowly killing him anyway.
Yeah. Like he's got like a day or so and before it kills him. Luckily he stumbles across, like I said, it's the only, other than hallways, dimly lit hallways, it's the only interior shot of the dark side we see. And it's Scorponok's lab again.
Yeah.
Lucky
and
us.
He looks over at where apparently he just knows where the antivirus is going to be because he looks
glad
over.
you mentioned that. The camera zooms in, presumably from Optimus's perspective, at where the antivirus was during all the other scenes, and it's not
there now. And Optimus just looks so heartbroken. It's like, dude, how'd you know it was going to be there? Like, it could be in a drawer somewhere. You don't know.
Could be behind the shelf. Apparently, it's in Megatron's little T-Rex hands.
Yeah, and so
Can't Megatron just not be like a mustachioed villain for like one episode? So of course he comes out holding the antivirus like cattle prod.
Yeah, that's kind of what it looks like. Yeah,
it's glowing green. You know what? They do a lot with lighting in this episode, and they've never really played with that as good. There's red and blue light on Optimus a lot. there's moonlit. There's like moonlight. There's moonlight hitting the Maximals when they're outside trying to send a message, and now Megatron underneath him is being like lit up by the green like antivirus cattle prod. It's cool.
Yeah, that's maybe the
It's coming out of the darkness, so it's kind of spooky looking.
maybe someone on the animation team figured out some sort of like lighting engine, and
Yeah, it's cool.
they were all like, yeah, let's use it.
Fuck yeah.
Animators showing off.
Well, they should. Like this looks rad. And this is so perplexing. He's not like looking for this, and I thought like a normal villain would smash it, would throw it on the ground and stomp on it, right?
And then laugh maniacally.
As like your face is like superimposed and translucent over like people screaming and an explosion happening.
And he's all like, "Not today, Mr. Bond. No."
No. I don't want you to die. I want you to talk.
One might say there's no time to die.
There isn't any time to die. He's like, what does Optimus say? What do you want, Megatron? And he says the most perplexing shit I've ever heard him say in the entirety of the show. Right?
He's all like,
your allegiance in exchange for this antivirus. Yes.
Like, what, dude? Like, why do you think that's a good idea?
Also, it's Optimus. Your allegiance. You think? Okay, Megatron. Also, you want Optimus on your side?
Since when?
Dude, fuck you. Yeah, since when? Your allegiance? It's Optimus. He wants to kill Optimus. He wants to beat the Maximals. Maybe Rat Trap or like Tigatron or not Dinobot because he's betrayed him like before. Well, apparently he forgives traitors all the time.
Yeah.
But like your allegiance in exchange for the antivirus? What? How would that work?
The Megatron could really use Rhinox on his team, I think.
I think so too. I think so too. It's fun to imagine.
Like, Rhinox is pretty solid, even though none of his inventions have ever actually worked.
Wait. No, they haven't.
Like, remember the alien probe thing?
It did nothing.
Yeah.
Well, no, it let him know that Optimus was inside. Well, I mean, they already knew that.
But it was a device. It was a device that he built to extract Optimus. We've talked about this before, but like
it didn't work.
He built this device to extract Optimus from the alien probe. It didn't work. The probe just let him out.
Yeah, the probe was like, "Okay, cool," and let him out.
Yeah.
At least you can't sneak up on him.
No, he. Especially if you're Waspinator.
Poor Waspinator. No, not again. Yeah,
and so Optimus is like, "Oh, why would I want to join you?" And Mega Breath is basically just like
you cannot refuse me. You're on your knees.
I've made you an offer you can't refuse. You either join me or die. So
like
what do you
think? Boss.
Yeah, basically. And so Optimus is pretty much just like, "Oh, well, yes." And he gets all like fired up and he's like, "Well, then how about we just go right now, Megatron?" And he pulls the Cyber Bee right off of his own chest.
Yeah.
Which was a pretty dope moment.
It's pretty
badass.
Pretty badass.
It's suicide.
Like, so join us or die. Like I said, like a mafia, like what's it called? Like racketeering.
Yeah.
Or recruitment. Why not end this here and now, Megatron? And he rips the damn Cyber Bee off his chest, essentially killing him. But as Rhinobot explained earlier, as Rhinox explained earlier, it becomes a bomb then.
Yeah. And Megatron's like, "You fool, you'll destroy us all." And he like throws his like little T-Rex arms up in the air and turns around and runs away. And
Optimus is like, "I learned this from a flower."
Yeah, so he pulls the same shit the Flower pulled on Dinobot earlier and throws the bee, and it sticks to the back of Megatron's like Tyranna neck.
His tyrannical neck.
Yep.
Yeah, right in his little blind, not blind spot. The area in your back you can't reach. I mean, I can barely reach that area.
Yeah, it's like his dead zone, basically.
Yeah.
Uh,
And
and so
Megatron goes, ah!
when
And
that
drops the
happens, he
antivirus.
like comically throws the antivirus cattle prod up into
Oh,
the
that's
air,
right. He doesn't drop it. He like tosses it up in the air.
and it goes flying back, and Megatron just like runs away and is all like
He runs
yells
into the darkness.
with just utter like anger, like Scorponok.
Oh yeah, like poor Scorponok. Like does everything right, and he's blamed for everything going wrong. Scorponok.
Well, he
Why
didn't do everything
Scorponok?
right though, because he fucked up this cyber bee that was supposed to turn.
Well, he did. He's done more than anyone else. Any other Predacon has done.
True. It's not his fault that he mixed up the cocktails, He just had a few too many at that point when he was doing his whole mixology thing.
Yeah, he made a nitro bomb instead of a Red Bull bomb.
Right.
Or was it NOS? Sorry, he used NOS instead of Red Bull in the Jaeger bomb.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
NOS, yeah. Those like blue. Yeah, NOS.
Yeah.
Ugh. He runs into the darkness yelling, Scorponok! And Cheetor, moving 1,000 miles per hour, jumps up into the air, does 700 flips, transforms faster than I've ever seen anything transform in the entire show, and catches it landing on the ground.
Yeah.
And Optimus is like dying, apparently. So,
Yeah.
on the show, and if anybody's familiar with Transformers, the thing inside of them, their soul, their life force, is called a spark.
Yeah.
Just thought
Oh,
I'd
good
throw
point.
that out there.
I
Yeah.
think that's the first time Spark has actually been mentioned in this show.
Even if it is mentioned beforehand, it's not. I can't recall it right now, but yeah, a spark, to anyone listening, is like a literal like little light source in their chest cavity, and it's like their life, like their electronic soul, like literally.
Yeah.
And watch the
What are
1980s
what are those
Transformers movie.
called? Those like orbs that when you touch them, like you start to see like electricity. What are those called?
Like a Tesla like coil or
Like
Tesla thing.
it's kind
Wait,
of
start to
lamp.
see electricity? What?
It's kind of a lamp. Like every stoner in like the 90s and 2000s had one in their bedroom.
Oh,
I,
and when you touch the surface, like a little prod of electricity comes
yeah,
out
yeah,
and touches your finger. And if you put
yeah.
another finger on it, there's another one. And if you put a third one, and it makes these little arcs going out
And
to your
and
static
eventually if you put too many fingers on it, like just nothing will happen.
because it's too diffuse.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, I guess they kind of look like that. Have we
I
seen a spark? Not
I
yet.
Not yet.
And so yeah, to the listeners, he said Optimus is like kneeling on the ground and he's like, spark, fading. So straight up he's dying.
Yeah.
And Cheetor runs over. You know in a dream how when you're running, it feels like you're on ice or you're not running as fast as you would in real life? You're like moving like really slow for some reason. This is how Cheetor's running over to him. Like the amount of space he covers versus how fast his legs are moving doesn't really add up. I found the animation really, really funny to look at.
Um
And
I'm I'm gonna run to the washroom real quick, but just keep talking.
okay. And yeah, Cheetor stabs like a cattle prod. It like even makes electricity sounds and like makes a static like an electricity sound. I and visual, and this green energy goes into Optimus, and it like the green light empties out of the little canister in the antivirus prod, and yeah, goes into Optimus. It's so weird, but it's cool. And then Optimus shakes his head, and Cheetor says a very reboot thing, and he says, "Yes, we're online." And I feel it's the same studio, by the way, that does Reboot as well as Beast Wars. We actually do a Reboot podcast. If you're interested, listeners, it's called Alphanumeric, a Reboot podcast. And yeah, it's Christopher and I, and possibly a third person. If you're interested, you can go and check us out. And yeah, so Cheetor pulls an Enzo here, and he says, "Yes, we're online." And yeah, Optimus is saved. I feel like the use of Scorponok's lab throughout this is a little perplexing. Maybe they're low on terminals after all of the terminals got exploded on that one episode where Cheetor like teleported through the terminals. Because I remember them being shot a lot. Like the Predacons would aim and shoot at the terminal just as Cheetor was like disappearing through it. So I feel like maybe they don't have
Megatron specifically in that episode, like just after Cheetor teleported away, Megatron like did his like T-Rex head laser blast and destroyed it.
I feel like 2 or 3 terminals in the main area of the dark side were destroyed, and so maybe they're running low. You know how we were talking about like, hey, do they have the resources to fix these things? So maybe like that's one of the only terminals they have. Scorponok's
Oh, maybe.
lab. I don't know.
Well,
so
in that random terminal that Rat Trap stumbled across in what was it? Double Jeopardy? Where he just happened to stumble across the terminal that had the maximal decoder chip in it.
Oh yeah, Pterosaur was like dinking around on like a terminal next to some scaffolding and a big black like pit.
It was Waspinator, but yeah.
Oh, Waspinator, yeah. And yeah, there's that one. So there's terminals spread all over the place. And then they wanted to like ransack Scorponok's room since they just kicked him out of it. Speaking of, so I just went over the cattle prod hitting Optimus and the green like glowing energy draining out of the canister and like being injected into Optimus, like a weird like liquid electricity, and then him coming to. Yeah, it's weird, but that's how viruses work in Beast Wars.
Apparently, although
antiviruses.
I kind of question the logistics though, because apparently this Cyber Bee had rewired Optimus's life support circuits into itself.
Wait, that's a good point. It's like, not enough. It's not that the antivirus would stop the bee. The bee being removed is supposed to kill him.
Yeah, so you would think like for this antivirus to work, it would be dependent on it being injected. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it would be dependent on being injected into Optimus while the bee was still attached, because like otherwise, like still gonna die.
Yeah, because the problem with Optimus was it removed his life support, functionality when it's ripped off. But the antivirus just fixes his berserker like rage.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Whatever. It brings him back to life and fixes Optimus's life support, apparently. Yeah.
Apparently.
Okay. Yeah. I never thought about that. That's a good point. Yeah. And he's like, let's get out of here, Big Bud, and they do.
They run, and then they're like fleeing from the Predacon ship, and Cheetor is all like, "Time to fade, heroes." Which I don't know why. Like I always like, this isn't the first time Cheetor has said this.
Definitely not.
I always roll my eyes whenever he says it. And I don't know why, but it's just like something about the line just makes me go like, "Oh, for fuck's sake."
Yeah, when you were gone too, I mentioned that Cheetor says a rather Enzo line, and he's like, "Oh right, we're back online." And I'm like, "Hold up," and then I plugged our other podcast. So
Damn right.
Megatron, this is this is. Sometimes I don't like Megatron, and then sometimes I'm like, "Wow, he's a good villain." This is not one of those episodes where he's a good villain. He runs to the ship going, Scorponok! And he finds him on a terminal with just static on it. I spit because I laughed. Um, he's just tapping buttons and there's just static on the screen. I've been a bad boy.
He's just pretending to work.
He's pretending to. Speaking of workplaces, yeah, he's pretending to work, and he runs at Scorponok, and he's like, "Get this thing off me now!"
And I like when he's
And
like
yeah,
walking toward Scorponok, like it goes to like a point of view from Megatron. You see Scorponok just like kind of like wave his arms back and forth, like crisscrossing them, like
no,
no,
no, no,
no, no, no, no.
no, no. And he does take it off of him, but taking it off of him wasn't the problem. The problem is, like Scorponok said, what did he say? It'll arm itself, and then in less than a minute, everyone within sprinting distance is slag.
Right, Rhino Man said, or Rhinobot. There we go. Rhinobot was all like, "Yeah, it'll blow up and destroy everything within sprinting distance within a minute."
And they look at each other as it's like, because Scorponok's holding it in his claws. They look at each other and then turn and look at the camera. I need to save this and post it on the Facebook group. This is ridiculous. That's the most comical, like, fourth wall break I've seen in the entire show.
It's a very it's a very fourth wall breaking and kind of slapsticky moment.
And they gasp, and well, guess what? It explodes right in front of their faces. You don't even need to be a light jog distance away, let alone a sprint. They're right up close to it.
Yeah. So it explodes and presumably they're dead.
Oh, they have to be, right?
Right. Never to be seen again.
It shows by the way, a huge explosion come out of the ship.
Yeah.
Like
Series
a lot
over.
of debris flies over. Series over. Okay, on that note, before we cut to the very nice ending scene between two of the Maximals.
Yes, it is a nice scene, actually. I really enjoyed it.
Hey, Maximals, there's like 2 Predacons left. Like Black Arachnia and Pterosaur. Like, win. Please. Guys, win. This like Optimus took all the rest out. Or the explosion did too. Like, win. Like, blow up their base. Get them. Please. I mean, I understand there's no show, but save yourself some like future heartache that you know the Predacons will cause. Keep in mind, the Predacons just blew up that relay tower and prevented the Maximals from being able to contact home base.
Right.
So, like,
So fuck
maybe
those guys.
scrap the rest. Yeah. But nope, they run away because they're the Maximals.
Yeah. So we're back at the Axelon. Optimus is in bed. His eye lights come back on.
Yeah, they go from black and they kind of flash red. It kind of is like a good way of expressing like eyes fluttering open, like when they flash.
Totally.
I didn't know this until I happened to pause on this episode earlier, but the way it conveys at least with Cheetor, blinking is their lights in their eyes go dark for like a split second. And I'm like, oh, I've never noticed them like blink before. have I just missed that or taken it for granted? Do you know what I mean? Like we don't notice people blinking. And
Yeah,
yeah, that's what
generally, yeah.
Optimus is doing. Yeah, that's what Optimus is doing now. His like eyes are like flickering like a little bit as if he's like fluttering his eyes awake. I don't know. I think they're getting better and better as the episodes go. And I noticed that Cheetor was blinking earlier, and I'm like, oh, red. So yeah, they're in some serene. I've never seen this room before. It's cool. It's like maybe it's Optimus's quarters.
Yeah, I'd say it's either an infirmary of some sort or Optimus's quarters.
It has a very good view. It's got like a window looking out.
Mm-hmm. And
And
who is at
Dinobot's there.
Optimus's bed? Yeah,
It's
Dinobot
Dinobot.
is at Optimus' bedside, and Optimus is basically just like, uh,
Visiting me on my
yeah, yeah.
deathbed. That's not like you.
And Dinobot tries to play it cool and is all like, "Oh, it was my shift."
Yeah.
um, and so Dinobot gets up and is all like, it's good to have you back." And Optimus is like, back to
Oh yeah.
normal
Back
or back to or
back home or back to normal.
right, back home or back to normal. And Dinobot's like leaving and he looks back and is like, both. And then leaves. And Optimus like kind of chuckles to himself, and the camera swings around, and we see at the table beside him is the flower from the beginning of the episode.
Mm-hmm. And that flower at the beginning of the episode, it didn't really. It was a plant. It didn't really have like actual like flower petals. It was like a plant that almost seemed like parasitic because it winded up and shot that seed at Dinobot, and now it kind of looks like an orchid
Mm-hmm.
or something. Like it's flowered now, and I'm like, this is like very Zen and Buddhist and like a very touching Dinobot Optimus moment, because that's implying that Dinobot went and retrieved that plant,
Yeah.
and that it had flowered while Optimus was recovering.
Yeah.
Peaceful flute music. I like it.
Yeah, I do too. So yeah, that has been Guerrilla Warfare. Cal, do you have any final thoughts about the episode?
It's such a silly like premise, but it builds. They did this with Rat Trap and Dinobot, and now they've done it with Optimus and Dinobot, and it builds, I don't know, like their friendship. So I like it.
Me too. I think seeing Optimus as like this aggro rage monster was pretty fun. And the whole
Him being on the Predacon ship by himself, just one by one, like
yeah, that whole
Jason
like Jason
Voorhees.
Jason Voorhees sequence that was pretty dope. And I really like the character development for Dinobot especially. Like we're really like we're slowly like getting down to like the emotional core of him as a individual as the show goes on.
Yeah. And it also shows that, well, I mean, we've always known Optimus can be a badass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was Guerrilla Warfare. Gooey Ryla Warfare.
We will be back next week with the 12th episode in production order, which was the 13th episode in US broadcast order, Dark Designs.
Ooh.
So keep an eye out for that next Saturday. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/toomuchenergon. If you want to get in touch with us, send us an email at toomuchenergon@outlook.com. We are running out of time here, so I think we're going to call it a night.
Yeah.
I have
Good.
been, yeah, it was good. I like this episode. It's silly, but it was fun.
What was the next one called?
Dark Designs.
Dark Designs. All right.
Right. I have been one of your hosts, Christopher Siege.
I am your other host, NeoCal.
And until next week, Beast Mode.
Beast Mode.
Beast War!